This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
Welcome to this episode of Athletes as Educators. I'm your host, Angie Lewis. On the podcast today, we have Dr. Cara Wright. She is a professor at Alabama A&M, got her PhD at Indiana University, Bloomington, played college basketball at Dayton, worked with the Indiana Fever, and worked with Basketball Without Borders. Cara, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cara, will you talk a little bit about your backgrounds playing sports and the impact sports have had on your life?
Oh, wow. Obviously, a huge impact as to why I'm still really invested in sport professionally. My father was a basketball coach. He actually played professionally 100 years ago. And so him being a coach, sports was just something that was very accessible. Sports was just something that was everyday life in my household. So then, me being tall and somewhat athletically inclined, I think that it just continued to open all these doors. Even though I came from a good family and we traveled and all this other stuff, I still had all these awesome opportunities to meet all these different people and just have all these different experiences that I wouldn't have had. And traveling, all over the country, all over the world. So, then taking that as an adult and stepping away from it after I was done playing, and, I decided that I did not want to continue with a professional playing career. But when I was done playing, I realized that I still had such love for the game and to, empower youth, male and female. But I'm very focused on women and girls' participation in sport. And just how I can be a game changer. I want to help spread the message of all the wonderful things that come out of participating in sport, but then also being an advocate for athletes, student athletes, professional athletes, and also they're transitioning outside of a playing career that, they have a life. That's not, them being a basketball player is not their only identity.
Exactly. Now, that transition, as you mentioned, that transition is difficult for a lot of athletes. What's some things that you found makes the transition smoother?
I would say something that I have had to learn kind of the hard way. I did go through, I think, a bit of depression. I was down. It's almost like a death. Your identity is gone when you're not a collegiate athlete anymore, so I don't know even how that would feel to be transitioning out of professional sport. But for me, it was really trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do next and to be as hopeful and to feel as confident as I did when I played sports, off the court and being successful as a professional. And I think that it was really just kind of having that mental well-being to know that I'm a complete person and me playing basketball was something that I used to do.
Right.
That was not the entirety of my existence and my being. And it took a while. And I think that that's why, I've kind of dedicated a lot of my research and my time. And that's something I'm very passionate about, is to challenge student athletes now at a young age to where they can actually comprehend and that they're actually going to put it into action, but that you have to be making those relationships and networking and, trying to find your best self while you're playing, so that it won't be such a hard hit when you're done playing.
Having that awareness that you're more than an athlete is extremely difficult. And you bring up a really good point about networking and building those relationships and having other interests. What's some advice you have to parents and youth coaches who are often the people who are telling kids and reinforcing this athletic identity?
I think just to really instill that into them being a whole person, a total person. I think that especially playing a sport on a high level, when you do anything on a high level, whatever that is inside of you, it's agitated, the stress, the anxiety, where, you want to perform on a high level. So I think that the self-infliction of perfectionism or, wanting to be better every day, I think sometimes, even though that's healthy and that's good to be, that helps you as a competitor, I think that support system outside of sport, who might be helping you and telling you to continue in sport, also has to be helpful and supportive of things that you do outside of sport, or letting people know that, or letting their children know that you're eventually not going to be playing the sport anymore, and so you can't talk about it like their life ends once their career is over, or that they've reached their highest peak of success when they become a professional athlete and sign that first contract. I think, it's just having that strong foundation to not place such a high value system on, some of these things that at the end of your life, really don't sum up who you were as a person. So I think it's just really having, really trying to instill that they're a total person outside of sport.
Having that holistic sense of who you are definitely helps, especially when things don't go so well in sports. There's plenty of players that get injured or their careers end for reasons beyond their control, and they have to figure out who they are. You talked about your research and how you dedicated a lot of time to studying this. Will you talk more in depth about your research and some of your findings?
I studied a lot about underserved communities. So a lot of times it's minorities of women or African American, and whether that be in sport, professional sport, collegiate sport, high school sports, or in athletic administration. And so I looked at just some different psychological phenomena that happen. Again, my research was dedicated to mostly the sports psychology field. Mm-hmm. So I would look at self-handicapping is something that I used and applied to athletic administration, and how women and women of color, tend to place these unwritten rules on themselves that our male counterparts don't, or they don't mm-hmm. at the same likelihood as the females do. And how, women, if we would, and what my research has shown, and a lot of the research that I've read, I don't feel like it's saying it enough, but that women have to create a network of women and helping women, and I think that men have to be a part of that as well, but it's got to be, we were all on the same page that we want to actually change the structure across the board when it comes to professional hierarchies, not just sport. And we have to stop thinking that there's only space for one. We have to change that conversation. And I feel like sometimes women don't realize, but because they're so, societally beaten by, the male-dominated world of sport, they're perpetuating that situation through their, through their speak, through their actions. And so sometimes I feel like we're almost holding ourselves back. So especially in, I've looked at as far as with women in endorsements, professional athletes with endorsements, or with women and the visibility of sport. I just think we have to be unapologetic in so many different ways, and it's not obviously going to work probably right off the bat, but I think that we have to start banging those doors down. I don't think, the glass ceiling, we supposedly, studies, we've supposedly shattered the glass ceiling, and now, they're saying it's the glass wall, but I think that now self-awareness has become the glass ceiling. I think women, we've got to take that ownership back.
Self-awareness has become the glass ceiling. I love that. I absolutely love that, because if you can't get beyond how you view yourself, if you don't see yourself beyond a certain point or a certain level, it doesn't matter if other people are restraining you or not. You're going to stay at that level because you don't think you're worthy enough to be there.
Absolutely.
I recently read an article that boiled my soul. It said that women, so we know that women make less money than men. Was 70 cents to the dollar, is that accurate? It's around that.
Yeah.
Well, this article that I read said that black women.
No, you're right. It depends on the position. Sometimes
Right.
it's even worse.
Exactly. Well, this article said that black women make 60 cents to the dollar of white men. And as a black woman, I'm thinking, wow, my counterparts make that much more than me. And it was a study of a few thousand women. So obviously it doesn't cast all black women. But did you find research that said similar?
Yes. As far as minorities, and it's just women of color in general are getting paid the least amount. Now, some of that is because, obviously, if the numbers are so low with women, okay, but then if the numbers are even lower with males and females of color, then that's gonna kind of skew the numbers as well. But I mean, it's very disturbing to see the research. It's hurtful. And you get really amped up about it, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna do that. But how many times have you talked yourself out of something, whether you spoke it or it ran across your mind, like, oh, I can't do that because of X. I can't do that, because I'm a black woman, or I can't do that because I'm too young, or I can't try to do that because of, like we inflict that self-handicapping. We hold ourselves back. And it's really just, we have to get with it. All the studies show this. Why is this? Why do we keep seeing the same trend? Because we keep doing the research and we're finding out about it. But, subconsciously, I think that women, not just men, men are doing it because they've been able to do it. But I think that women, we're not challenging ourselves to actually change what's going on. I'm not trying to down women. I do think that there are several professions where we're just oppressed. Okay, it is what it is. But you've got to continue to apply. You've got to continue to network. You've got to continue to speak to what it is that you actually want to do. And just because you don't see somebody that looks like you who's doing it, you can be the first. This day and age is just, it's ridiculous. It's mind-blowing to me that anybody would ever feel like there's something that is holding them back to do what it is that they want to do. If you have certain resources at your fingertips and people are so creative and they're coming up with things and you're like, gosh, I wish I had thought of that, or I wish I had done that. And it just gets down to a point where it's like, well, do it. Like Nancy said, it's time. Women, we see the research, we see the numbers. It's time. We've got to take ownership of that. We know what it is. You have to continue to push forward. And then maybe that'll change the research to say, well, women are still applying for these positions and they're still out here networking and they're still getting the education and it's still not changing. Okay, well then we need to figure out another plan. But I just feel like at this point, that's what it's showing. So we've got to continue to push through. It's not just them, it's now we're a part of the problem. I think that, we have to continue to make people uncomfortable to get change.
No, you're absolutely right. What are some techniques and tools that women can use to do just that? How can we make people more uncomfortable to create change?
I think that there's women that are in higher positions, or they are in places of quote unquote, power within their athletic structure, their team, their organization. And I think by way of how it's always been, they're excited to feel like they've assimilated into the old boys club. They feel like they have crossed over. They're sitting at the head table. And I think that it's in those instances that you continue to fight for change. We should stop being complacent with being the only woman. I think that it's awesome and that we highlight those, but we continue to highlight like the first or the second. Why don't we say this company, they have 10 VPs or 100 women doing X? I think that it's just unfortunate. And right now, the research is showing that women are becoming entrepreneurs in droves, which is great. I think that's awesome. I think that if you don't see what it is you want to do, create it, that's great. But at the same time, I think I just feel like we're being societally discouraged because of what we have seen so much, especially in the sports industry, to where it's like, well, I'm not even going to try anymore. I'm smart.
Right.
I've done this, I've done that. So I'm just going to go do something else. And so although I'm commending, I love the entrepreneurial spirit, but it's those people that are the change makers that can then change and affect something that's already been working. Like, oh, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But how much better could it possibly be? I just feel like you never know. I mean, you have to continue to make people uncomfortable and continue to have these different ideas and to find these different and new solutions to problems and, and ways to generate revenue. So I just think that, that's how we can continue to make people uncomfortable to, encourage change.
And thinking about thank you for that. And thinking about your statement about entrepreneurship, I recently read that part of the reason there are so many women becoming entrepreneurs is out of necessity. So they're not getting the jobs that they know they deserve, or there are some women who have applied for jobs or are capable of more, so they're just creating their own, not necessarily out of the complete desire to be entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship is not easy by any means. It sounds sexy these days. It's such hard work. And so the fact that women are even putting themselves up for that, I think, is commendable as well.
Absolutely, which only shows further the point that, well, what if you broke into the traditional organization or team or the structure that you were trying to get into? What awesome ideas, what transcendence, what could you have done, had you had an opportunity to get in there and do something different. So I guess, I just think everyone gets discouraged. It's human nature. But it's just continuing, and it's uncomfortable too. It's uncomfortable to keep being told no. Mm-hmm. It's uncomfortable to, have those conversations. It's uncomfortable to network and not get anywhere. But women have to have that, we just have to be on a better page of self-awareness. And we've got to continue to do a better job, I think, in creating networks with other women. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. I actually had somebody who was a mentor of mine, and still is, but made a comment when I was doing studies. I said I was going to do studies and I was going to look at, women and underserved communities in athletic administration and in sport. And he said to me, well, you don't want to be that woman. And I was like, I don't know what you mean.
Right.
Because, that woman that champions for women. And I remember thinking about that so much because this is someone I look up to. Mm-hmm. He has this great position. He's so smart. He's so accomplished. And that destroyed me for a few months. And I even shifted and did some other, started helping other people with different research just to get a feel for something. I was like, you know what? Why am I ashamed? Why am I embarrassed? Why is that not what I want to be known for? Why can't I be the woman champion for women? Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous that I let somebody who has, some job that I think is an awesome job affect who I am at my core with just, like some off-beaten sentence that probably didn't mean anything to him. But at such a formative time in my, my career and my education to say that to him, and it just threw me off track. So I just think that's what it is. It's okay. If you're somebody who's a woman who champions women, it is going to make people uncomfortable. But if that's what you feel that you need to do, then you have to do it.
It is. It is what you have to do. And oftentimes, as you mentioned earlier, there's the good old boys club. But no one says that men are trying to champion men because it's unspoken that you take care of people who you have relationships with and who you do business with, because that's the nature of most corporations and industry.
Absolutely.
And thinking about women supporting women, let's shift here to it being the 20th anniversary of the WNBA. I remember, I'm 33. I remember when the WNBA started, right? And we got next was the battle cry. And this year, I think their motto is watch me work. So we go from we got next to watch me work. What's your memories of the WNBA as it's grown, and what impact has that had on female athletes?
I remember those first few teams because they just looked like, I mean, they were these amazing athletes, but they looked like regular people, if that makes sense. I mean, they looked like
our aunties,
people you knew, looked like their family.
Yeah.
And like Lisa I mean, she was really tall, but Lisa Leslie, I used to love Lisa Leslie. Or Cheryl Swoops. I mean, it was just, they were so good, but they were, they had scrunchies and their nails and lipstick. And so I thought it was awesome. I remember, I was very excited about the WNBA, but, I remember hearing negative talk, like, oh, it's a joke, it's not going to last. So I'm very excited, and I feel some sense of pride as far as, like, the sisterhood of playing basketball that it has survived, and that it's doing well. And it's an amazing product. I mean, to see those women play, it's really inspiring. It's really a fun game to watch. And, when I worked for the team, it was really awesome to get someone to come out to a game for the first time and they're hooked. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be like, oh, I just hated this. It was really exciting. And just like in every other league, within 20 years, I think we've done amazingly well in 20 years as far as the athlete. Powerhouses, people are, there's really some amazing talent. And just to see how rapidly they've become so strong and, being able to do these moves and, guys will be like, oh, she plays like a guy, look at that jumper, look at that shot, so to be getting kind of props, that the women can really play. I think it's been really awesome to kind of see that within my lifetime.
That having that visual of who they are and seeing strength combined with class, combined with approachability has a tremendous impact on young women who play ball and even parents of girls who play basketball. There's one moment this season that was really monumental. It's when the WNBA players staged the media blackout. Will you talk a little bit about that and how they were given fines, but they chose to stand together?
Right. I was really proud. I think I have formed some friendships with some different girls that play ball and, through the years, and I know people that play, and it's weird. I felt, I don't know if it's because I had worked with the team or I don't know, but I felt such a great sense of pride when they did that. I was very excited, and I thought that it was awesome that they used their platform, which might be a lesser known platform sometimes than their male counterparts in the NBA, but to still feel like that mattered, so much to them, so much so, regardless of color, that they wanted to do that, and they wanted to stand in solidarity with the people that had lost their lives. And I thought it was a pretty profound statement. I was very excited. I was very proud that they did that, and then continued to do. I thought honestly that it might have been, a one-time thing. There's going to be a couple teams that do it, and then they're going to back off. And for some of them to really, to just really be committed to using just those few minutes, I think it was pregame that they did it. I thought that it really spoke volumes to where the league is at, and the people that are a part of it. So I was very, very, very proud. I was incredibly disappointed with the fact that they were given fines. I thought that is almost the antithesis of what, the W is built on. One of the foundations, one of the building blocks of the league is, the community. Mm-hmm. And I think that to expect women to come, infiltrate into these communities for such a short amount of time, but yet they engage in so many different ways. There's so many community events that go on, that are kind of woven into the entirety of a season. And to expect the women to do that, but it's one-sided, this was something that the community of the women that were playing felt a need to express how they were feeling and where their stance was, and to not have the support of the organization as a whole. I mean, that made me cringe. I was very upset about that, but very proud for the women to continue to, speak their mind, speak their heart, and to continue to peacefully protest in such, maybe it's a small thing, but it just speaks such volumes for the platform that they have and the time they have. And I thought it was a really selfless, awesome opportunity that they took, and that they really sent a message. So very disappointed by the fact that they were fine.
It was very powerful to see them all together. And what we're seeing more and more is this athletes using their platform for activism, for social activism, for what they believe in. There's the Colin Kaepernick. There's the Undefeated had a special the other day where they interviewed athletes around gun violence. What's your feelings about athletes and activism, and should athletes use that platform for activism? And what's the potential ramifications of that for them?
I just think that just sport in general, the sport industry, it's a booming, multi-billion-dollar industry all over the world. I think it is silly to think that these individuals that are a part of this business are not going to have some kind of a feeling one way or the other about social issues, being a human being. I think that it almost takes away from the fact that we love the characters. We love to hate the villains, and we love to root for the underdogs. There are these characters that are created in sport and, in anything, but specifically in sport that we love, and I think that, maybe this is something that humanizes them, but it's also something that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, as far as them making, great athletes, and sometimes you see things at the Olympics, and just certain times where people have used their platform to make a statement. And I think that it's powerful, and I think that it gets to a certain place, and I think that we can't separate cheering for somebody and not cheering for all of who they are. And I think that, we have to allow them to be human. And I think it's an awesome thing, and I think that it's something that's not going to stop. I think that people should use their voices. I feel like every other area does, and, they got to hear what people say about them, about X, Y, and Z. Anything under the sun you can tweet or put on Facebook posts, or, and people write articles and all types of stuff. They can attack and antagonize some of these athletes and just the sport, sports realm in general. So I think that it's only fair that they get to speak on social justice and injustices. Now, to what extent, I'm not sure. I think if it's going to be something peaceful, I think that it's, I just feel like these people have to be protected, because at the end of the day, they're people, and we're also not giving them the right to be human off the court. They've got families. You don't know how they were touched by something, and I feel like it gives, it almost gives more depth to an individual to kind of see what it is that they care about. I think that it's something that we could use as, a way to connect with fans even more. And if it's something where it's really ugly and they just, it's caused a ruckus and the fans are in an upheaval and X, Y, if it's something to that extent, then I would see that there needs to be, some type of reeling and processes and protocols. But if it's something that's peaceful and it's something that somebody stands for, and they're not, forcing other people to engage in the same thing or to feel the same way that they're feeling, like everybody's kind of entitled to their opinions and to express themselves in a certain way. So I don't know. I guess, like I said before, I find myself being more of an advocate for athletes. So I would certainly hope that their rights as being a human being would be protected as well.
Exactly. And who they are as humans is more important than who they are as athletes, because there's so much more to what you care about, what you believe, and what's important to you than only what you do on the court. And we like to put people in pretty little boxes that make us feel comfortable.
Right.
Which isn't.
And if you lose a fan and they're not going to buy your jersey, I mean, we'll all go sleep at night. You know, like, people can make, you know, as long as it's okay with the league and, you know, okay, we're going to allow you to do X, Y, and Z pregame-wise for, you know, to do whatever it is you're trying to do because you want to use this platform. Okay, you've earned that right. But, you know, take the good with the bad, take the consequences. So there might be some fans that disagree with you, you know, and you might have some people that aren't going to be your friend anymore. Oh, you know, it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's just a part of life. You'll have to deal with that. But I don't know. I feel like it's something peaceful. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Right. The last thing, before we close, you know, there are some athletes who really speak out about social justice issues and take a stand on social justice issues. But there are other things happening in the world and in society that athletes go to bat for. So we've talked about Shamiqua Holtzclaw. I've interviewed her you've helped coordinate that, and she's really passionate about helping people in general, not only athletes, know about mental health concerns. Will you talk a little bit about that work and why that's so important for athletes and people to recognize?
Yes. So with Shamiqua, I have gotten to help her, you know, kind of continue with her awareness of mental health issues and mental health wellness. And it's not just she's necessarily spoken to a lot of different communities, but she'll go to like a college campus or a community, and she's traveling with the screening of her documentary, Mind Game, and then pulling together, you know, experts within that community in the field of mental health. And it's not just geared towards one group, because mental health is something that every single person, you know, should have some knowledge and awareness of. I think that people always equate mental health with mental illness, or, you know, the stigma that you're sick, you're broken, you're damaged. And it gets, you know, research shows in different cultures, you know, it's different things. Can you pray it away? You know, if you use medicine and something's wrong with you. I mean, it's gotten kind of out of control, and I think that the message that Shamiqua and I are about is spreading the awareness of just mental wellness, mental well-being. Just as much as we care about our physical health, you need to care about your mental health, because a lot of people out here, they look healthy, but if you have severe anxiety, if you have bipolar disorder, if you have, you know, just different mental health issues, then they need to be addressed. You know, it needs to be exercised. There's certain things that you can possibly do if you have the right care, if you have the right plan to strengthen, you know, your mental health, to increase your mental health. Which I think then hand in hand will enhance your physical health, because you'll be a complete package. I just think that it has to be that oneness when you're speaking about health. I don't think that the mental part and the physical part should be separate, because the mental part controls that physical part. And I think that that's what's kind of been lost. And the stigma, it's so ugly. And we have to stop perpetuating and pushing the stigma. I mean, I just feel like, awareness, man. Awareness has been the topic of this whole discussion. I think that, you know,
awareness is key.
Just that awareness. Oh, absolutely.
Awareness is key. Yep.
Absolutely. It just helps you be your most complete and your best self when you are aware of what's going on in your body and what's going on in your mind, and, just being very cognizant of what you can do to change those things.
Absolutely right. Now, I saw Mind Game, and it is so good. It actually helped me better understand a relationship with a friend that I have. And I didn't understand the severity of what she was going through until I saw Shamika's documentary. And I had a conversation with my friend, and she opened up. And we've been friends for over a decade, and I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
No idea what she was dealing
Wow.
with. I honestly totally downplayed it, because we would always talk jokingly about what she was going through. And so it was great. I loved it. And I highly encourage everyone to bring a group together and watch Mind Game, because it'll be very eye-opening, and it'll help them to better understand maybe people who are dealing with the same struggles that Shamika has dealt with. But it was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to her and other athletes for being a part of the movement to raise awareness.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important for people to see their heroes are human.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I just think that helps you to, get on a better pace with yourself. Like, oh, wow, this person that I think is invincible is really a human being, and they've got issues, and I have issues. And so nothing's wrong with me. I can work on this, or I can fix this, or I can seek help, or there are resources in place that can help me. And also I appreciate you saying that. Even with your friend, people are embarrassed. People are ashamed. The stigma is real, and so they carry the shame, and they don't want to talk about it. And it's hard to have real conversations about being depressed or having anxiety or whatever the case may be, because you feel like no one's going to understand, or you feel like you're going to be stigmatized even more. And thus, I think that makes you even sicker, and then that can affect your physical health. So,
yep, absolutely.
I agree with you. I commend, all athletes, anybody, but all athletes who are willing to, share the fact that they have real human being issues, and bringing light, and using their voice to thus impact youth and adults and, hopefully change the world.
It does. It has an impact, and it makes a difference. And so we keep pushing and keep supporting each other. I just want to thank you so much for joining me, for sharing your perspectives. It is evident that you are very passionate about raising awareness and social justice and equity. I think it's great that it makes sense why you're a professor. It absolutely makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. If people want to learn more about your research, about what you're doing, how can they reach you?
I don't know if I should give my
email, social media. Some people use social media. Whatever you're comfortable with.
So I am on. I really don't do Twitter or anything. I would say find me on. You can email me at my university, and it's Cara, Cara.Wright at a&nbu.edu. And also, I have restarted my blog, which is on pretty much everything we talked about today, which is just on Weebly. I believe it's The Right Brand at Weebly.com.
Okay, perfect. The Right Brand.weebly.com.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, I look forward to reading your blog, and I really enjoyed speaking with you today.
I know. I really enjoyed talking to you, too. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
You're welcome.
This is Athletes as Educators.
Thank you for listening to the Athletes as Educators podcast. Connect with me through the Athletes as Educators Facebook page or at Athletes Educate on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. For more resources and information about today's podcast, you can check us out at AngelaRLewis.com.